And here's the deal, okay? Actually, the deal is quite simple. Do not panic when you're building a roster in professional sports. It is not linear. It is not always going to be just getting better and better and better. There's going to be snags in the road. There's going to be issues of slight slowdown. I promise you, it'll be okay. And here's why I bring it up. Because the Rockets were doing everything right. The Rockets were doing everything right. They ironically were building very similar to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just won an NBA championship. And guess what happened instead? They panicked, went out, and bought Kevin Durant. They bought Kevin Durant. The Suns and Knicks. So Knicks, where did that come? The Suns and Rockets. It's such a bad move, I assume the Knicks did it. The Suns and Rockets agreed to send Kevin Durant to Houston in a deal for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 overall pick in this upcoming draft, and 5 second-rounders. Now, that's not so much that it's absurd. It's not the Paul George trade with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a bunch of first-rounders, but it's a 36-year-old, about to be 37-year-old in September, Kevin Durant, going to a team that was one of the youngest in the league. And that was part of the beauty. Part of the beauty was this past year, Jalen Green was 22. And Reed Shepherd, who was having a hard time getting on the court, but he was just 20 years old. Jabari Smith was 21. Amen Thompson was 21. Cam Whitmore, another first-round pick, 20. Even like some of the older contributors, Dylan Brooks was 28. They had so much room to grow. Şengün, 22. You had a decade ahead of contention. With Kevin Durant, you have 2-3 years at best. And that's if a 7-footer stays just as effective as he is right now until almost 40. There is, I mean, cliche. It might be the original cliche. Be patient. Patience is a virtue. Here's how you develop, like once you make the move, right? And they had the players, right? They had at different points in time Chris Paul, and they had James Harden, and they had Dwight Howard, and they had Russell Westbrook was there. Like they had all of these players, and it didn't work out. And it felt like they finally went, you know what? Let's do it the right way. They tried to build it fast a bunch of times, and it didn't work. So they went, fine, we'll burn everything down to the ground. We'll start over, and we'll do it the right way. And they were on the way. They were on the way. And then they panicked. And they sent away a 20-plus point scorer who's 22 years old in Jalen Green. And they panicked, and they sent away the 10th overall pick, which could have just added to their treasure trove of young players, right? The beauty of having all these picks, and OKC has this right now, is if a couple of your first-rounders turn into role players, that's fine. Because you have 5 other chances to get the star. Right? Draft for skills, draft to develop. If Reed Shepherd spends a year in the G League or 2 years in the G League, who cares? You have other guys carrying the load. You were the 2nd seed in the West. So let's hear from Stephen A. just because this is, it's Stephen A. Smith talking basketball. Here's what he had to say about Houston.
I mean, the man is 27 points per game. You see what he brings to the table. He's instant offense for a team that was lacking and struggling in offense. He provides that. He elevates them to championship status. They got a shot to win it all with him, Van Vliet. Amen Thompson's going to be a star. He's going to elevate his level of play with Kevin Durant as his teammate. Şengün is no joke. Plus, you kept Jabari Smith and a few other pieces. So, Tillman Fertitta is ecstatic. Ime Udoka is ecstatic. You can guess how I know those things. I'm trying to tell you, they love it. They are incredibly happy about it.
I don't care if the owners are excited. Obviously, they care and they get to do whatever they want. But was the GM excited? Was the assistant coach excited? Right? That's what here's the issue I have. They did struggle offensively. They can't shoot. They had nobody on the team that could shoot the three. I mean, Dylan Brooks a little bit. They couldn't shoot.
And Jalen Green was one of the bigger,
but the
causes of that.
The crazy part is Reed Shepherd can. He was in the G League, and that's why you drafted him, whatever it was, 3rd overall. And I guarantee you someone will be able to shoot at pick number 10. And you have a billion other first-round picks and a billion other second-round picks. You can draft shooters to put around these guys that are young studs. Kevin Durant can shoot, yes. Don't get me wrong. Kevin Durant isn't a floor spacer. He's not a guy who's like, let me park in the corner and have you guys all handle the ball. And no, so these young guys now don't have the ball in their hands. They're going to develop more slowly. They're going to develop at a lesser rate because they're going to have to stand around and watch KD occasionally. Which, by the way, if you don't do it, you're wasting KD because he might be the best scorer of a generation. So looking at it, the lesson learned is be patient. Imagine this, okay? Imagine if the Panthers, okay, we're talking Carolina Panthers, suddenly, like right now, traded for Stephon Diggs or Devontae Adams or Cooper Kupp, right? Any of these guys who are going to be good, don't get me wrong, if healthy, for another 2 or 3 years. But you're also going to get them the ball a ton. You're going to make Bryce Young fall in love with that guy. That's going to be who he develops all the chemistry with. And then 2 or 3 years from now, when the team's ready to compete and the defense is better and all this is ready, he's going to be looking around going, where's my security blanket? Where's the guy I'm supposed to grow old with? And Tedoroa McMillan's going, yeah, you threw me like 50 balls last year, man. We got some chemistry we got to build. Xavier Legette's going, I was returning kicks. Like there's nothing there for them to develop around. I talk windows a lot. Windows aren't just like Super Bowl windows or NBA championship windows. That is part of it. Part of it is making sure the windows of your best players align. Right? And that's why I always say a running back should be the last guy you add to a football team because a quarterback's window could be 15, 20 years. A receiver's window could be 12, 14 years. Tight end's window could be 10. Offensive line, 8, 10. Running back, probably hoping for 6 or 7. Right? So if you can get everybody, all those Venn diagrams to overlap at the right time, that's how you build a team. The Rockets had a bunch of windows that were, started this year, last year, the year before that, or next year, and we're going to go for 10 or 12 years, and added a guy with 2 because they got impatient, and we've seen it so many times. And you would hope, watching the Thunder, watching the Pacers have the success, watching the Celtics. How did all three? The Celtics won last year. The Pacers were in the Eastern Conference Finals each of the last 2 years. The Thunder were in the Western Conference Finals each of the last 2 years and won the whole thing this year. If you look at those three, what was the genesis of their roster building? Trading away a star. Sometimes multiple stars, right? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, those guys were when they traded away Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, just absolutely beloved figures. The Pacers are in so many ways built around trading away Paul George and then trading away Domantas Sabonis. The Thunder, so much could be built around trading away Paul George. Now there's still teams sitting there going, yeah, we'll give a billion pieces for Kevin Durant's last 2 years. Doesn't make any sense to me. Unless somebody in the Rockets front office or ownership said, you have to win a title this year or else. Like, you have to counter with, listen, I might be able to make you a contender for this year. Or I can make you a contender from 2027 to 2037. Like, which do you want?
Well, look, I mean, on the flip side of it, right, there are so few opportunities to go out and acquire someone who has that level of scoring ability. And yes, like his immediate impact is not going to be as long as if you had locked up Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks and kept them. But you have to consider, like, what is the ceiling of their ability? There have been a lot of questions about Jalen Green's efficiency as a shooter. He was not shooting at a great percentage, even though he does have a pretty explosive scoring ability. And Dylan Brooks is an incredibly solid role player with good defensive upside, but this kind of acquisition is kind of what elevates you to that next level. And I understand the idea of not wanting to like mortgage your future, but at the same time, like how many opportunities do you have to do something like this while giving up ultimately like not that much for someone of KD's caliber?
I mean, as far as trading for former MVPs, you've only had the option to trade for late career Westbrook, late career Harden, late career Durant, late career, I know he's not MVP, but late career Chris Paul, late career Paul George. Like, these opportunities come around more often than you think. And you rarely see the good franchise making them. I mean, the Suns trade, like, they had opportunity to trade for a much younger, much more fresh Kevin Durant, and that didn't work out well. And they paired him not with Alperen Şengün, they paired him with Devin Booker.
Well, let's not disrespect Alperen Şengün. That dude is a baller.
And he's 22. Jalen Green's 23. I'm not saying he will, and I don't know Jalen Green like the dude. Wouldn't be the most outlandish thing in the world for a player to develop a three-point shot at 23 years old. Especially if he's shown the ability to score, 22, 23 points per game in the NBA already. So my point is, Panthers, don't mortgage your future for a win-now player. Please don't.